Welcome to the To Be Honest podcast. Today, I am so pleased to welcome, for the first time, we're having multiple guests on the podcast, and I have the honor of speaking with Vivian Leon, Mier-Rosales and Zabreen Shaikh, who are all members of the TAY Action Team at the Mental Health Association of San Francisco. We'll get into what the TAY Action Team does, how they got involved, and their personal experiences with mental health. So welcome, Vivian, Mimi, and Zabreen.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for having us here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to chat with you all. And before we get started, I like to ask every guest, to be honest, how are each of you doing today? And if you want, we can start with Mimi and then do Zabreen and then Vivian.
Okay. To be completely honest, it was a rough morning. I had nightmares last night and I really did not want to go into work today, but I had this beautiful podcast. I had another presentation this morning and I have more meetings later on. So it's been busy, but I am feeling better now that I've actually gone and done some things throughout my day. So I'm really excited for this. Thank you.
Yeah, good to hear you're feeling a little better. Zabreen, how are you doing?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm doing good. Today's a really productive day in the sense that I'm getting a lot of tasks done. I went back to the office recently this Tuesday and I did a lot of heavy lifting, so I'm super sore. But I'm still hoping to get outside today and just catch some of the sun before it sets early.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day, and I love that it's getting later, or the sun is going down later, so we're getting a bit more sunlight each day, which is so nice. And Vivian, how are you doing?
Hi. To be honest, I agree with both Mimi and Zabreen. A lot has been going on, rough and okay as well. And I've been exercising to get sunlight. And joining this podcast has brightened my mood. So.
Great. Yeah, I'm so excited to hear that. And I really appreciate you all being honest because, as you know, there are some days we're not doing too hot and not feeling our best. So I appreciate your honesty with that. I think that's very relatable to many. So to start off, I wanted to give everyone a background on what the Mental Health Association of San Francisco is, what the TAY Action Team is, and a bit of background on those two.
Yeah, so I'll be sharing a little bit about MHASF. So MHASF stands for the Mental Health Association of San Francisco, and I've been working with them for almost 2 years now. I actually started off as an intern through a program that Zabreen runs and works for, and Vivian also was a part of that program at a different time than me. So we're all kind of intertwined in that way. So I interned at MHASF and then I work full time now. So what MHASF is and what we do, we are a nonprofit mental health association in San Francisco. So we offer many different services and support groups for people who struggle with mental health challenges. And we also, one of the biggest components of MHASF is our warm line. So we are the home of the California peer-run warm line. And what that is it's basically, it's supposed to be a service and support to prevent people from going into crisis. So I'm sure you've probably heard of like a hotline, and that's usually for like people who are in the middle of a crisis, who are feeling suicidal or whatever it may be. So the warm line is a step before that, and we try to work on being there for people before that happens and maybe to hopefully prevent a crisis. And every worker who works on the warm line is a peer who also identifies as having mental health challenges. And we also have support groups such as the Young Adult Support Group, which the acronym is YAS, kind of like the meme YAS. We also have autism spectrum support groups, anxiety and depression support groups, and one-on-one peer coaching. So for someone who would like individual counseling, we also provide that. And the TAY Action Team, and I'll let my team members speak a little more to it. But the TAY Action Team is just one of the groups and services that we have. So yeah, I will let some of you talk more about that.
Yeah. And so the TAY Action Team, well, I'll break it down. So TAY stands for Transitional Aged Youth, and that's a population that is specific to individuals between the ages of 16 to 25. And it's still quite a fairly new population that's been identified because there are certain needs that are within this group that aren't currently being met in the current behavioral health system, where legally, once you're 18, you're an adult. But what about that weird transition phase where you're not quite an adult, but not yet a child as well? And so what we do as the TAY Action Team is that we do a lot of outreach and advocacy work and identify issues that are currently affecting TAY within San Francisco. And the main project that we're working on right now is to construct a wellness center in San Francisco that transitional aged youth can access. And by doing so, we're hoping to offer more accessible behavioral health resources to this population.
That sounds amazing. I had no idea you guys were working on a wellness center. I feel like you're definitely filling a gap that's probably much needed in San Francisco. So that's really, really awesome. And I wanted to speak on Mimi's mention of the warm line. I don't know the history of warm lines, but I feel like, yeah, I've heard in the past couple of years that term kind of come up more and more. So I feel like that's, yeah, it's just like an amazing resource, I think, for youth who, like you kind of mentioned, like you may not be in crisis yet, but it's a good prevention tool. So I really hope that people use it when they need it. So would you each mind, I know Mimi, you mentioned that you got involved because you started as an intern. How did the rest of you become involved with the TAY Action Team and the Mental Health Association of San Francisco?
So I was in a group with Zabreen called Youth to Youth. Zabreen and another fellow member of hers ran Youth to Youth, and Mimi. And then as we were like going to group every Thursdays and Fridays, we had the lovely Mimi and two of her fellow colleagues come join and do a presentation, and it was all fun. They made it like a game and everything. And then they had mentioned that a group that they wanted people to join. And I was like the main person asking about it, and I knew Zabreen was also interested in it too. And so I had emailed one of Mimi's fellow colleagues, and I was just emailing him like, okay, so when are you guys gonna start? And I had attended the first group, and I almost didn't go because I was so tired from work that day. And I went, and that was the last time we met because of COVID. And I seen everyone, Zabreen, Mimi, and other people, and I was like, oh, cool. And we had a nice, fun meeting, and we had dinner. And then it was like, okay, well, y'all are not meeting anymore. COVID. And then there was a long gap, and then we had to like join on the phone or video. And then there was another gap, and then we didn't start till like maybe June, July. Mimi or Zabreen, you can correct, but I know it was like towards that time, pretty late. And that's how I got into it. Spread the word, and I joined. Thanks, Mimi.
Awesome. And you kind of mentioned that you've been impacted by COVID, so I'm just curious how have you guys adapted during that time?
So yeah, like Vivian said, we only met once in person before lockdown happened, unfortunately. So for some context, our group is fairly new. So we are going on our second year at the beginning of this year. So in January of 2021 is when we first started, and it's a 3-year long like project. So it was strange to transition, of course, for everyone, because this was new for everyone, and we were trying to figure out how we could meet online and still like get advocacy done and like meet people and present to them and things like that. So then Zoom came along, and yeah, we transitioned onto Zoom. We were meeting every week, and then over time, we changed it to bi-weekly, because it just felt more productive that way, and just to cater to everyone's different schedules too, of course. But I would say that we've done a pretty good job at transitioning onto like virtual or online. We've even hosted and like planned a virtual event that happened in the summer of last year, so around June or July, like Vivian said. Um, so yeah, we've been able to do a lot, although it has been challenging.
I know it's been rough on a lot of nonprofits to not do like the in-person or the outreach at all. So it's really interesting to hear what everyone is kind of doing to, make up for that time that's kind of been lost. But it sounds like you guys are doing some great work. So, and Zabreen, I didn't want to skip hearing how you got involved. So I'll give you the floor for that.
Yeah, so my story is very similar to Vivian's. I found out about it through my place of employment, Youth to Youth, which trains youth to become peer counselors. And a representative from MHASF came in and did a presentation, and she mentioned the TAY Action Team. And I actually already knew a couple of friends who were already on that board. And so I attended the first meeting, and I really enjoyed it. I really found a sense of community and people that were like-minded in the sense of how they approach and view mental health among transitional aged youth. And it's been really awesome to see our journey, because initially, before we transitioned to virtual meetings, our initial project was to just do an outreach event in San Francisco on a much smaller scale. And so going from an outreach event to constructing a wellness center, it's a big leap. But I think that, COVID has also brought some positives in the sense that, we're able to identify more issues that are currently affecting the transitional age youth population, and seeing the increase of mental health services that are necessary in the city. And so it's just been a really awesome journey, and I'm looking forward to continuing the Wellness Center project that we have our eyes set on.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And if people who are listening are interested in becoming involved with the TAY Action Team or Mental Health Association in San Francisco, how could they go about doing that?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. So I'm actually recently was appointed to be the lead of our TAY Action Team. So like Vivian and Zabreen mentioned, in the past we had another person. I guess I won't name her just for personal things. But she's an adult, and recently we discussed about how like all of our efforts on this team are to have youth at the forefront of everything, pretty much, because our voices are important. So we transitioned from having that person as the lead, to a youth leading the group, and then having adults as allies. So that's just some context. And people, if they're interested, we are currently actively recruiting. So I do have a flyer that I can share with you, Avery, to like share with your networks and things like that. And also on our website, so on the Mental Health Association website, which is mentalhealthsf.org, you can find the TAY Action Team and information on there. And also, there will be the application to apply for the team. And our target audience right now is, of course, transitional aged youth. So, youth from ages of 16 to 25. And we are currently just focusing on the Bay Area. So we do have some members who don't live in San Francisco, but they're still part of our group. So if you're interested, I would say to go on our website and there will be contact information there to reach out to me, and also the application will be there. And also, I guess I will say my email, and I can also give that. Well, Avery has it, so that you can share it. My email is Maria, Maria, at mentalhealthsf.org. And yeah, so please reach out, and I can give you more information and also connect you with our group.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think people who are listening, I'm sure there will be some interest. So I'm happy to promote your initiatives with our followers and supporters. Yeah, I think it'd be really great to get some more people involved with this.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course, yeah. So I kind of wanted to jump into your personal experiences with mental health, and also kind of learn more about like where the passion comes to be involved with the work you're doing. So if you don't mind sharing, what are your personal experiences with mental health?
So COVID really took a hit on all of us. It was a really big thing, not just me, everyone just around the world. And you don't think about, I guess we think about our mental health, but like we're so on the go, like we're working, trying to work out, be with our friends, do all these things. And then when it slows down, it's like, whoa, you're in your thoughts. So COVID has really, not in the beginning, it hasn't affected me, but then it hit me. And I was always thinking, overthinking everything, some anxiety, some depression. And it got, it wasn't pretty. But you finding tools for yourself is like the best way to go about it. And like talking to yourself, I know many people are like find that weird, is like just like, okay, well, get out of bed and go eat, or try to like do a set of exercises, or I don't know, just like anything to take care of yourself. And so I think what's helped me is that getting sunlight, like just being in the sun 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, anything is like, it really brightens your mood. Everyone gets triggered differently. So online could be a trigger, so like getting out is like really good for the mental health, of course.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think, yeah, it's very relatable. I definitely went through a time during COVID that was not so pretty. But I think it's so normal. I think it's great that we're talking about it, because I think a lot of people have felt that way. And I also definitely relate to the fact that getting outside has helped you. It's definitely helped me, at least, like just go for a walk, just go around the neighborhood for like, 5-10 minutes, and it makes you feel so much better just to get some fresh air. So thank you for sharing that advice too. Mimi, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah. So my mental health journey and challenges actually connect to the work that I do today, which is interesting. So I've struggled with mental health pretty much my whole life, although I didn't realize that until later on. And I also do have family members close to me, like my older sister and my mom, who also struggled with mental health. I'm the youngest in my family, so growing up, I would see that and like watch that, and it was hard for everyone because we didn't really know what was going on. Like we didn't know much about mental health challenges, and also how to get support. So there was a time in my mental health when I was still in high school, where it got like at its worst. I kind of say that it was the rock bottom that I reached, and I went into hospitalization my senior year of high school, and that is when I really realized that I wanted and needed some help and support. I was really going through it mentally, and also school was just not helping. So after I got out of hospitalization. I transferred schools from where I was because I was having negative experiences there, and it was adding on to my mental health. So I went to an independent study school, which really helped a lot. Um, and when I got out of hospitalization, my teacher at the time actually gave me the application for Youth to Youth, the program that we talked about. So he gave it to me, and I read the description, and I saw that it was about mental health. And I was like, okay, I understand why he gave it to me, but I also don't, because I just got out of hospitalization and I'm not sure if I'm in the right mindset to like help other people. Um, I didn't know like what a peer was or like what peer support is at all. Um, so I was a little bit scared. It was intimidating, but I did want to try it and I thought that it would be meaningful. So I did, and it was. It really helped a lot in so many ways. I learned a lot about myself and the challenges that I was going through, and like how they present themselves and how to cope and deal with them, and also other people as well, and like how to help others and support others, even as someone who is struggling themselves. So that was really eye opening for me, and it was empowering too, to feel like I could use my challenges and struggles to help someone else. Um, and it did help me a lot when I do talk about my mental health and like my recovery. I do think of Youth to Youth and that whole program and process as part of what helped me to recover. Um, so yeah, and then I that led into me interning and now working in mental health. So it all comes full circle, and I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I like that you said that's like a full circle moment because, yeah, it sounds like part of your recovery was helping others. So it's really great to see that despite the challenges you may have faced, there are, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's positive sides to having a mental illness. It's not always something to be scared of and not always something that we should be ashamed of, to reach out for help. So thank you both for sharing. And I just am curious, in your opinions, why do you think it's hard for youth to seek help or reach out and telling people how they feel, if they're struggling with a mental health issue?
Well, I think there's plenty of reasons. I can name a few. I think one has to do with culture and how you grow up, who is raising you. It's like kind of shamed upon or like looked down on, like who needs help, or like, generations above us are like, okay, so what is that? Like, do you really need that? Um, and then, as generations go down and, gets younger, it's like I've noticed that like a lot of anxiety and depression and these issues are coming up. It's like, whoa, it's like kind of a connection a little bit. And um so that would be one reason. Another reason would be like not knowing where to start, with like there's online chat rooms, there's phone numbers, all of that important stuff. And it's like starting, where do you ask for help is not the easiest, because I know for resources for myself, I'm like still learning. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, this is like nice to know. Like, I can share this with someone else, and also sharing my experience with others, like, would be very helpful, and resources shared very beneficial, because when you spread awareness and the word, it's like saves so many people, saves so many lives, and it's amazing. I think what I'm learning is that during COVID is that being able to like share a little bit maybe of my experiences, and maybe listening to someone and saying, okay, I'm here to listen, even if I may not know you or I may know you. And these are the resources I'm using. Very, very helpful.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that sometimes with asking for help comes a great deal of vulnerability that you have to share with others. And I think sometimes you just have to get to a certain point where you're kind of in a position where you need to ask for help, because it can be hard to kind of expose your true inner feelings or emotions or experiences that are affecting your mental health. And so just building up to that can be scary for youth. And I also think the second half of it is inaccessibility. And that's just not limited to like mental health resources, but also people. So maybe not having the supportive or empathetic figures that they need in their life in order to be able to confide in them, I think is another factor when it comes to difficulty in asking for help.
I'll add something really quick. Zabreen and Vivian both said what I was thinking, but something I just thought of as well is that a lot of the time I feel like youth aren't taken seriously, and that goes across the board for everything. But definitely with mental health, I feel like if we were to reach out or share like symptoms that we're experiencing, a lot of the time it can be mistaken or like misconstrued as like, oh, you're just a kid, or like those are just like your hormones, and like kind of belittling our experiences and like what we go through, and saying that like just because you're young you can't experience mental health challenges, which is totally not true, because most mental health challenges present themselves at a young age. They start at a young age, and that's when is the best time to like catch it. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think prevention is definitely key. So I think it kind of, all these reasons that you guys mentioned kind of speak to, why the Mental Health Association of San Francisco exists, and why To Be Honest exists, and why these services and resources are so important. And kind of on the flip side of that, what can we do to make it easier for youth to reach out for help when it's needed?
I think a lot of it is just committing and knowing that you're there for the youth. I think a lot of the times, it's funny, I was having a conversation about like asking for help with a bunch of transitionally aged youth. And the one barrier that a lot of them touched upon was that, oh, I don't want to be seen as a bother, or I don't want to like I'm needy. And so just making sure that, your presence is there for somebody else, and that you feel comfortable talking with them about certain events or emotions that they're feeling says a lot. And it helps them feel like, they're not really bothering you, but actually a resource for their mental health.
Definitely. I 100% agree.
Similar to what Zabreen said, I was thinking of like again the adult allies, like actually reaching out to youth and asking them how they're doing, as if you would with yourself, like checking in on yourself or your close friends. And that goes for like your children or students or whatever youth that you're around. And even if they're not like showing any signs of distress or anything, just making sure that you check up and genuinely ask like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Do you need anything from me? To show that you are there, like Zabreen said.
The To Be Honest campaign was created by Momentum for Health and is sponsored by District 4 Inventory Funds, thanks to Supervisor Susan Ellenberg and Republic Urban Properties. This episode was hosted and edited by me, Avery Cruz, as well as edited by Peyton Dillehay. Music for the episode was made by Julia Steele. Thank you so much for tuning in as we continue to share stories of youth and young adults throughout the Bay Area who have personal experience with behavioral health issues. If you have a personal story or experience you'd like to share on the podcast, please email us at tbh.today@gmail.com. To learn more about the To Be Honest campaign and the podcast, we encourage you to visit our website, www.tobehonest.today, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at tobehonest.today. All this information is also in the show notes, so we look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye!